Maya worked at a small roadside diner on the edge of a quiet town. The diner was modest, with red booths, checkered floors, and a small counter lined with stools. The smell of fresh coffee mixed with the faint aroma of frying bacon and eggs. Most days were calm, filled with travelers stopping for a quick meal, truck drivers looking for warmth, or locals who came for their usual coffee. Maya enjoyed her work. She liked watching people pass through, listening to their stories, and offering a friendly smile. It was a chilly evening in early spring. The sky was painted with soft shades of pink and orange as the sun began to set. Maya was wiping down the counter when a loud rumble echoed across the parking lot. Her head turned sharply and she saw a large black motorcycle speeding toward the diner. The roar of its engine made the windows vibrate slightly. Maya's heart skipped a beat. Motorcycles were not uncommon, but this one had a certain presence. It looked powerful and expensive, and the rider seemed to have trouble controlling it as he came to a stop. The man stepped off the bike and immediately bent down, fumbling with something near the front wheel. Maya noticed he was trembling slightly. He had dark, messy hair that fell over his forehead, and his leather jacket looked worn and heavy. His jeans were scuffed, and his boots were scratched from travel. At first, Maya assumed he might have dropped something or been having trouble with the bike. But then she saw him rub his face with his hands and felt the faint tremor in his shoulders. She realized the man was crying. Maya hesitated for a moment. She had never approached a stranger like this before, but something inside her urged her forward. She grabbed a clean towel and stepped outside. The cool evening air brushed against her face as she walked toward him. "Are you okay?" she asked gently. The man startled and looked up. His eyes were red, and there were streaks on his cheeks from tears. He shook his head slightly. I just need a moment," he said quietly, his voice low and broken. He seemed embarrassed by his own tears, like he didn't want anyone to see this side of him. Maya held out the towel and a bottle of water. "Here, maybe this will help," she said softly. She did not ask questions. Sometimes, a small gesture of kindness was enough to show someone they were not alone. The man hesitated, then took the towel with shaking hands. He accepted the water and drank slowly, trying to compose himself. "Thanks," he murmured. "I didn't expect anyone to care." Maya shrugged and smiled. "Everyone needs help sometimes. It's okay to accept it." He looked at her with a faint surprised smile, as if he had forgotten what it felt like to have someone care. For a moment, the world outside the diner disappeared. There was no leather jacket, no motorcycle, no fear or danger. There was only a man, vulnerable and human, and a woman willing to listen without judgment. The man finally spoke again. "It's been a rough day. Everything seems to go wrong at once. I don't know where to start fixing it." Maya nodded, understanding more than he realized. "You don't have to fix everything right now. Sometimes just taking a moment is enough. Breathe, drink your water, and take it step by step." He let out a slow sigh, almost as if he had been holding in his pain for too long. "I'm not used to showing this side of myself," he admitted. "People usually see the jacket, the bike, and think, tough, strong, but I'm not always that strong." Maya smiled softly. "Strength isn't about never feeling pain or sadness. Real strength is knowing when to accept help and still keep moving forward." He looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in a long while, his eyes seemed lighter. "You're different," he said. Maya laughed quietly, unsure what he meant, but happy that her presence could ease his burden even a little. The man stayed by the bike for a few more minutes, occasionally adjusting a mirror or checking a chain. Maya watched, giving him space but remaining close enough if he needed help. She noticed the way he flinched at small noises, the way he kept glancing around as if he feared someone might appear. It was clear he was used to being alert, cautious, and controlled. Yet here he was, allowing a stranger to witness a moment of vulnerability. Finally, he mounted the bike and turned to her. "I should go," he said. "But, thank you, truly." "You're welcome," Maya replied. "Be safe out there." He nodded, started the engine, and the loud roar filled the air again. He drove off slowly, disappearing down the road as the sun dipped lower. Maya watched until the sound faded completely. She felt a mix of curiosity and concern. Who was that man? Why had he been crying so openly? And why had she felt such a strong urge to help him? The rest of the evening passed quietly. The diner emptied out, and Maya finished closing tasks, but she kept thinking about the mysterious biker. There was something about him that lingered in her mind, something beyond the jacket and the motorcycle. He seemed familiar, almost like a story she had read or a song she had heard, yet entirely real and present. Little did Maya know, the man she had helped was far more than a lonely biker. He was a captain in one of the most feared motorcycle clubs in the country. He had authority, respect, and a dangerous reputation that preceded him. But at that moment he was just a human being, facing a moment of doubt and pain. And Maya had seen him without any pretense, and that small act of kindness would be the start of a connection neither of them could have predicted. As Maya locked the diner and stepped outside to grab the last tray, she noticed the road where he had left. The sky was now a deep shade of purple, and stars began to twinkle faintly. She smiled to herself, thinking about how life could surprise you in the smallest ways. One simple choice, one decision to offer help could change the course of someone's day. maybe even their life. That night, Maya went home thinking about the man, wondering if she would ever see him again. She did not know his name, his story, or the world he belonged to. She only knew that a moment of compassion had connected them. In the quiet of her small apartment, she replayed the image of him, the worn leather jacket, the black bike, and the tear-streaked face. She felt a warmth inside, the kind that comes from knowing you did something good for someone in need. Unseen by her, far down the highway, the biker had also thought about her. He was surprised that someone had cared. Someone had offered kindness without judgment. In a world where he had to be strong, feared, and respected, her simple gesture had touched him deeply. Neither of them could have imagined that this brief encounter would lead to a friendship that would challenge their worlds, test their courage, and change them both forever. The following week, Maya returned to the diner for her usual morning shift. The sunlight streamed through the large windows, casting a warm glow across the counter and the checkered floor. She enjoyed the quiet mornings when the only sounds were the sizzling of the grill and the occasional hum of a car passing by. Around mid-morning, the familiar roar of a motorcycle echoed across the parking lot. Maya looked up instinctively and saw the same black bike from the previous evening. Her heart gave a small flutter of surprise. The rider dismounted with more confidence this time, though his posture still carried a quiet tension. He walked inside the diner, his leather jacket creaking slightly as he moved. Maya noticed his eyes flick toward her, and he gave a small, almost shy nod. "Good morning," Maya greeted him warmly. "Morning," he replied, his voice calmer than before. There was something different about him today. He seemed less fragile, but there was still an air of quiet sadness around him. He took a seat at the counter, resting his arms on it. Maya walked over with a cup of steaming coffee and placed it in front of him. "Your usual?" she asked. He nodded. "Yeah, thanks." For a few moments, he sipped quietly, watching the steam rise from the cup. Maya busied herself with taking orders from other customers, occasionally glancing at him. She could see the man was not used to simple human interactions without tension. Yet there was a small comfort in this visit, a sense that he was trying to find a normal moment in his life. After a while, he spoke. "I came back. I don't know why. Maybe to say thank you again. Or maybe I just wanted to sit somewhere quiet." Maya smiled softly. "You're welcome. It's nice to have you here. Sometimes, quiet moments are all we need." He looked at her thoughtfully. "Most people would have ignored me, maybe even judged me." "I don't judge," Maya said simply. "Everyone has a story. Sometimes, they just need someone to notice them." He nodded slowly. There was a weight in his eyes that spoke of experiences too heavy to share with strangers. Yet, somehow, her presence made it easier to breathe. Over the next few days, the biker returned to the diner regularly. He never stayed long, usually just enough for a cup of coffee or a simple meal. Maya noticed that he never talked much about himself. He was polite, quiet, and careful not to draw too much attention. But occasionally, he would glance at her with a small smile, and she began to feel a connection that went beyond casual acquaintance. One afternoon, the sky darkened suddenly, and heavy rain began to fall. The diner's door rattled as the wind blew outside, and the sound of raindrops hitting the roof was constant and loud. Maya was wiping tables when the familiar black bike appeared in the parking lot. The man hurried inside, shaking off rain from his jacket and hair. He looked exhausted and tense, as if the storm outside mirrored the storm inside him. Maya handed him a warm towel and a fresh cup of coffee. "You made it through the rain," she said gently. "Barely," he admitted, his voice low. He wrapped his hands around the warm mug, letting the heat seep into his fingers. "It's been a rough few days. I thought I could handle everything alone, but—" His voice trailed off. Maya nodded, understanding without needing more explanation. "You don't have to handle everything alone. Sometimes sharing the burden makes it lighter." He looked at her and gave a faint, grateful smile. For the first time, he seemed to relax a little. "I didn't expect someone like you to understand," he said. Maya shrugged lightly. "I don't know if I understand everything, but I know how it feels to be overwhelmed, and it's okay to accept help when you need it." The biker stayed longer than usual that day. He began to open up a little, talking quietly about the challenges he faced on the road. He spoke of loneliness, of long nights spent traveling with only his thoughts for company. Maya listened carefully, never interrupting, letting him speak at his own pace. "I've met a lot of people," he said at one point, "but most of them only see the jacket, the bike, and assume things about me. They don't see the person underneath. That's why I didn't reach out to anyone before." "You're more than what people see," Maya said softly. "Everyone has layers. Sometimes, it just takes someone patient enough to notice them." The man was silent for a moment, staring into his coffee cup. "You make it sound simple," he said finally, a small smile forming. "But it feels real, what you're saying. No one has said that to me in a long time." From that day, a slow friendship began to grow between them. It was quiet and subtle, built on small gestures and shared moments. The biker would come to the diner at different times, sometimes early morning, sometimes late evening. Maya noticed patterns. He preferred to sit at the corner of the counter, away from most customers. He rarely spoke to anyone else, only nodding politely when greeted. But with her, he was different. There was a trust forming, a fragile thread connecting their worlds one evening. As the diner emptied and the sun dipped below the horizon, he stayed longer than usual. The colors of the sunset reflected in the windows, and the diner was bathed in warm orange light. Maya was wiping down the counter when he spoke quietly. "I've never had someone just listen," he said. "Most people either judge or ignore. You don't do that." Maya smiled. "Listening is simple. Understanding takes time. I don't expect to fix your problems, but I can be here while you face them." He nodded slowly, as if absorbing the meaning of her words. For the first time, he seemed comfortable enough to let his guard down completely. There was no leather jacket, no tough exterior, no roar of the motorcycle. There was only him and Maya, sharing a moment of human connection. The days passed, and the friendship grew stronger. Maya found herself looking forward to his visits. She enjoyed hearing his quiet observations about the road, the people he met, and even the small joys he found in simple moments. He never shared everything, but the small pieces he revealed were enough to form an image of the man behind the jacket and motorcycle. One afternoon, she noticed a small scar on his hand as he reached for his coffee cup. "How did you get that?" she asked curiously. He glanced at it, a shadow crossing his face. "Old mistake," he said softly. "Nothing important." Maya nodded, choosing not to push further. She had learned that some stories were not ready to be told. "Sometimes, the scars tell stories anyway," she said gently. He looked at her, his eyes reflecting a hint of surprise and admiration. "You have a way of seeing people," he said quietly. "A way I didn't expect. It's rare." That evening, as he rode off into the setting sun, Maya felt a sense of connection that she could not explain. It was more than curiosity. It was care. She wondered who he really was, where he was going, and what challenges he faced. But she trusted that, in time, he would reveal his story. Little did she know, the man she had befriended was not just a lonely traveler. He was a captain in one of the most feared motorcycle clubs in the country. He held authority, respect, and power, and yet here, in the warmth of a small roadside diner, he allowed himself to be vulnerable. He trusted her, and that trust was something he had not given to many people in years. Maya went home that night thinking about him. She thought about the quiet mornings, the shared coffee, and the small smiles that meant so much. She realized that friendship could appear in the most unexpected places, and sometimes, it began with the simplest act of kindness. As she drifted off to sleep, she did not know the path ahead. She did not know the challenges, the danger, or the surprises that awaited them both. She only knew that a friendship had begun, fragile but real, and that it had the power to change both their lives in ways they could not yet imagine. The next week, Maya noticed the mornings were getting warmer, and the sun rose earlier over the quiet town. She was finishing her shift when the familiar roar of the black motorcycle sounded in the parking lot. She glanced up and saw him dismount once again. Today, there was a different air about him. He seemed more cautious, more aware of his surroundings. He walked toward the diner slowly, as if he expected something, or someone, to appear. Maya had grown used to his presence over the past week, but she still felt a mixture of curiosity and concern each time he arrived. "Good morning," Maya said with her usual warm smile. "Morning," he replied, giving a faint nod. He moved toward the counter and took his usual seat. Today, he seemed tense, and Maya could sense it. There was an energy around him, quiet but intense, like he carried more than just the weight of a day's worries. She brought him his coffee and a small plate with a sandwich. "You seem tense today," she observed gently. "Everything okay?" He stared into his coffee cup for a moment, then slowly shook his head. "It's complicated," he said quietly. He didn't elaborate, but Maya could feel the weight of his words. She had learned over the past days that sometimes listening was more important than asking questions. For a few minutes, he drank his coffee silently. The diner was calm, with only a few regular customers scattered around. Maya continued wiping tables but kept an eye on him, noticing every subtle movement. Finally, he looked up at her. "I think I need to show you something," he said quietly. His voice carried seriousness that made Maya pause. "It's part of who I am, something I haven't shared with anyone before." Maya's curiosity grew, but she stayed calm. "Okay," she said. "I'm listening." He hesitated for a moment, then motioned toward the door. "Follow me," he said. Maya followed, her heart beating faster. She had no idea what to expect. They walked out into the parking lot, where the black motorcycle waited. Instead of mounting it, he led her a few blocks down a quiet street. Soon, they arrived at a large warehouse. Its exterior was plain, but the presence around it made Maya feel something she could not describe. A group of men were standing near motorcycles, talking in low voices. They were all dressed in leather jackets with similar patches, and Maya could sense an order, a hierarchy, in the way they moved and interacted. Maya froze for a moment, unsure what to do. She had never been in a place like this before. The man noticed her hesitation and spoke softly. "It's okay, you don't need to be afraid." He walked confidently toward the group, and the men immediately acknowledged him with nods and quiet gestures. Maya watched as their interaction unfolded. There was respect, authority, and understanding in the way they communicated without words. The man she had befriended was clearly a leader here, someone the others listened to and trusted. Maya's curiosity grew, but she stayed close behind, observing. She realized that this world was entirely different from the quiet diner mornings she was used to. There was a code of conduct, loyalty, and order that she had never seen before. After a few minutes, the group dispersed to their tasks. The man led Maya inside the warehouse where she saw rows of motorcycles, tools, and equipment neatly arranged. It was clear that this place was well cared for, organized, and important to those who belonged there. "I wanted you to see this," he said quietly. "It's a part of my life, but it's not something I usually share with anyone outside." Maya looked around, trying to understand. "I didn't know your life was like this," she said softly. "It's organized. You all have rules, responsibilities." He nodded. "Yes, there is order, but also danger. My position means I have to make decisions that affect many people. It's not always easy, and it's not a world where someone like you belongs." Maya studied his face. She saw honesty, strength, and a hint of worry. Despite the leather jacket, the motorcycles, and the serious expressions, there was a man underneath, a human being with responsibilities, challenges, and emotions just like anyone else. "I don't care about the danger," she said gently. "I care about you. That's all I've ever cared about." He looked at her, surprised. You really mean that?" Maya nodded. "I do. You're more than the jacket, more than the motorcycle. You're a person who deserves kindness and understanding, like anyone else." For a moment he remained silent, looking down at the floor. Then he met her gaze. There was gratitude, relief, and a quiet admiration in his eyes. "Thank you," he said. Not many people would see past the surface. They spent some time walking through the warehouse. Maya saw the motorcycles being cleaned, tuned, and prepared for travel. She noticed the camaraderie between the men, their loyalty and respect for one another. It was a world she had never known, but seeing it up close helped her understand him better. As they left the warehouse and walked back toward the diner, the man spoke again. "You've seen more than I intended. Most people would be scared or judgmental. You're different." Maya smiled softly. "I see you. That's all that matters." He nodded, a small smile forming on his lips. "You've earned my trust," he said quietly. "That's not easy, but with you, it feels natural." Maya felt warmth spread through her. She had never been in a position where someone trusted her so deeply, someone so strong and independent. And yet, here he was, letting her see a side of him that few people could. That evening, as the sun set and painted the sky with shades of orange and pink, they returned to the diner. The town was quiet, the streets almost empty. Maya felt a sense of calm despite the new knowledge she had gained. She understood the world he belonged to, but she also knew that it was only a part of who he was. As they sat in the diner for a moment, drinking coffee, he spoke quietly. "I didn't know if I could let anyone in my world. It's complicated, and it's dangerous, but you make it easier to face. Just knowing you're there helps." Maya reached for his hand, gently holding it. "You're not alone," she said. "Whatever happens, I'll be here." He looked at her, a mixture of surprise and gratitude in his eyes. For a man used to authority, respect, and fear, this simple act of connection was something he had never expected. Over the next few days, Maya noticed subtle changes in him. He seemed more relaxed during his visits, willing to share small stories and experiences. He spoke of the road, the freedom of riding, and the moments of quiet reflection he found on long trips. She listened, learning more about the man behind the leather jacket, understanding his dreams, fears, and moments of vulnerability. Through their growing friendship, Maya realized that trust was fragile but powerful. She had earned a place in his world, a world that few outsiders ever saw. And she understood that her kindness, patience, and willingness to see him as a person rather than a reputation had made the difference by the end of the week. Their connection had strengthened. Maya knew that this friendship was only the beginning. She could feel that their paths were now intertwined in ways that would challenge them both, test their courage, and ultimately shape their lives. As she closed the diner that night, Maya looked up at the sky. The stars were beginning to appear, and the quiet hum of the town surrounded her. She felt a sense of anticipation, a feeling that something bigger was on the horizon, and somewhere down the road, the man she had helped was thinking the same thing. Grateful for the person who had seen him, truly seen him, for the first time in years. The following week, Maya noticed a change in the man she had come to know. The calm, quiet confidence he usually carried was now mixed with tension and unease. When he entered the diner that morning, he moved with careful precision, his eyes constantly scanning the parking lot as if expecting someone to appear at any moment. Maya noticed it immediately and felt a small knot of concern form in her stomach. "Good morning," she said softly, setting a plate of pancakes in front of him. "Morning," he replied, his voice steady but low. There was a seriousness in his expression that made Maya pause. She had grown used to seeing him relaxed, even in small ways, but now his focus seemed consumed by something heavier. He picked up his fork but did not eat immediately. Instead, he stared at the window, watching the quiet street outside. "There's trouble," he said finally, breaking the silence. "People from another group are causing problems in the area. It's complicated." Maya listened carefully, sensing the weight behind his words. She had learned over the past few weeks that he did not speak lightly. Whatever he said carried meaning. What kind of problems? She asked gently, keeping her tone calm. Rival groups, disputes over territory, and a few personal vendettas, he explained. It's nothing that affects you directly, but it affects me, and anyone close to me. Maya's eyes widened slightly. She had not imagined the world he belonged to was filled with so much tension and danger. So, this is why you've been tense? She asked. He nodded, finally taking a sip of his coffee. Yes, I try to keep it from reaching normal life, but sometimes it becomes unavoidable. Maya reached across the counter and placed her hand gently on his. You don't have to handle everything alone, she said. Even the strongest people need someone to lean on. He looked at her, a faint smile appearing despite the tension in his face. You make it sound simple, he said quietly. It's not. Over the next few days, the tension in his demeanor became more noticeable. He would often arrive at the diner early, drink his coffee silently, and leave without much conversation. Maya worried for him, knowing that his position brought risks she could hardly imagine. She wanted to help, but she was unsure how. One evening, as the sky darkened and the town became quiet, the man arrived at the diner looking more exhausted than usual. His leather jacket was damp from rain, and his hair stuck to his forehead. Maya could see the strain in his eyes, the way his shoulders slumped slightly under the weight of responsibility. I need to talk to you, he said softly. Something is coming, and I want you to understand. Maya gestured for him to sit. I'm listening, she said, her voice calm and steady. He sighed and began to explain. Rival groups are planning to challenge my authority. They want to create chaos and prove that they are stronger. This could turn violent, and I cannot predict the outcome. My position as a leader means I have to protect those I am responsible for. I also have to ensure that no innocent people are harmed. Maya nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of his words. She realized that his life was far more complex and dangerous than she had imagined. And yet, despite all of this, he had allowed her to become part of his world in small ways. You're not alone in this, she said gently. I can't fight your battles, but I can support you. I can be here when you need someone to lean on. He looked at her, his eyes reflecting gratitude and surprise. You don't understand, he said. Most people would be scared or run away. You chose to stay. I stay because I care, Maya replied. Because I trust you, and because I see who you really are. That evening, a group of motorcycles appeared near the diner, the sound of their engines echoing through the empty streets. Maya recognized the tension in his body immediately. He moved to the door, peering outside. They're scouting the area, he murmured. I need to make sure nothing escalates. Stay inside. Lock the doors. Don't come out until I say it's safe. Maya obeyed, her heart pounding. She watched from the window as he approached the group, speaking to them with calm authority. She could see the respect they had for him, the way they listened carefully to his words, even in the face of potential danger. He carried himself with composure and confidence. After what felt like hours, he returned to the diner. His jacket was slightly scuffed, and his face showed signs of fatigue, but he smiled faintly at her. It's handled, for now, he said. They will not cause problems here, at least not today. Maya exhaled, relief washing over her. You were amazing, she said. I don't know how you do it. He shook his head slightly. It's not about being amazing. It's about responsibility. Leadership. Sometimes you have to make choices that weigh on you, but you do them because it is the right thing. Over the following days, Maya noticed a change in his visits. He was still cautious, still aware of potential threats, but he allowed small moments of relaxation. They began sharing quiet conversations, stories about life on the road, and even small jokes. These moments were precious to him, a rare glimpse of normalcy amidst the challenges he faced. One afternoon, as he sat sipping his coffee, he looked at her thoughtfully. You've changed something in me, he said quietly. Your presence, your patience, your understanding. It makes facing everything easier. Maya smiled softly. You've done the same for me, she said. I never expected to meet someone like you, someone with so much strength, but also so much vulnerability. He nodded, his eyes reflecting both gratitude and admiration. I didn't know it was possible for someone like me to have someone like you in my life, but now, I can't imagine it without you. Despite the challenges looming on the horizon, Maya felt a sense of connection and trust growing stronger each day. She knew that his world was dangerous and complicated, but she also understood that kindness, patience, and understanding could create bonds that transcended fear and uncertainty. That evening, as she closed the diner, Maya thought about the man, about the tension, and about the quiet moments they shared. She realized that life was unpredictable and that danger could appear at any time, but she also knew that trust and friendship could provide courage and strength in the face of uncertainty. The night was calm, with a gentle breeze rustling the trees and the distant hum of cars on the highway. Somewhere down the road, the man she had come to care for rode his motorcycle, aware of the challenges ahead but also comforted by the knowledge that someone believed in him, trusted him, and would stand by him no matter what. Maya locked the diner and took a deep breath. She understood that their friendship was now stronger than ever, but also more fragile, tested by circumstances beyond their control. The next days would bring more challenges, and she knew that she would have to remain strong, supportive, and patient that she walked to her small apartment. She looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the dark sky. She felt a mixture of anticipation and determination, ready to face whatever came next. And somewhere far down the road, he thought the same, grateful for the person who had entered his life, offering understanding, compassion, and friendship. The world around them was filled with uncertainty, challenges, and risk. Yet, through trust and care, they had found a connection that gave them both hope and courage for the days ahead. The days following the tension with the rival group were quieter, but Maya knew it was only a temporary peace. The man she had grown to trust still carried the weight of responsibility. The subtle tension in his movements and the careful way he scanned his surroundings never completely left him. Yet, there was also a new sense of calm in his presence, a result of the connection he had begun to share with her that morning. He arrived at the diner earlier than usual, his leather jacket clean and his hair slightly damp from a light rain. He greeted Maya with a small smile that seemed more genuine than it had in weeks. She noticed it and returned it warmly, placing a steaming cup of coffee in front of him. "Morning," she said. "You seem lighter today." "Morning," he replied. "Maybe I feel a little lighter because of you." He took a slow sip of his coffee, savoring the warmth in the moment of normalcy. Maya studied him quietly. She had learned over the past few weeks that this man, strong and commanding in his world, also needed support, care, and patience. She understood that her friendship with him was delicate but powerful, and she had decided long ago that she would stand by him. Over the next few hours, they talked more openly than ever before. He shared small stories about his life on the road, the freedom he felt riding through endless landscapes, and the loneliness that sometimes accompanied that freedom. Maya listened attentively, never interrupting, never judging. She realized that listening was one of the most valuable gifts she could offer him. "You've changed something in me," he admitted quietly, his voice steady but soft. "I was used to carrying everything alone. I thought strength meant handling it all without anyone else. But you've shown me a different kind of strength, the kind that comes from trust, care, and understanding." Maya smiled. "I've learned a lot from you too," she said. "You've taught me that courage isn't just about fighting or being tough. It's also about facing life honestly, even when it's hard." He nodded, a faint warmth spreading across his expression. For a man who was used to authority, respect, and command, it was clear that these moments with Maya were rare and precious. Later that afternoon, as the sun began to set, a message arrived that confirmed what Maya had been sensing. The rival group was planning another move. This time it was closer and it could not be ignored. The man explained the situation carefully, reassuring Maya that he had a plan and would handle it. He also told her that she should stay inside the diner for her safety. Maya obeyed, her heart heavy with concern but trusting him completely. She watched through the window as he mounted his motorcycle and rode out with determination, moving with the confidence of a leader who understood the stakes. Hours passed, and Maya waited anxiously. She cleaned tables, refilled coffee pots, and tried to distract herself, but her thoughts continually returned to him. She trusted that he was capable, but she could not ignore the worry that had settled in her chest. Finally, he returned. His jacket was slightly scratched, and his face showed the strain of the evening, but his eyes held relief and a faint smile. Maya rushed to his side. "You're okay," she said, her voice full of concern. He nodded, taking her hand gently. "I'm okay," he said. "It's handled. Nobody got hurt, and the situation is under control." Maya breathed a sigh of relief, her heart finally easing. "I was worried," she admitted softly. "I know," he said, his voice steady and warm. "And that's why I need you in my life. Your presence, your trust, it gives me strength more than anything else." They sat together quietly for a while, sipping coffee and watching the lights of the town turn on as evening fell. Maya realized that their friendship had grown into something much deeper. It was built on trust, understanding, and shared vulnerability. She understood his world more than she had before, and he had opened a part of himself that few people would ever see. Over the next few days, life settled into a new rhythm. He continued, visiting the diner, and their bond strengthened further. They laughed together, shared stories, and even discussed small dreams about the future. Maya learned about his love for the open road, the peace he found in riding alone at night, and the satisfaction he felt in leading responsibly. She also began to see glimpses of his softer side, the man who cared deeply for others and carried his responsibilities with quiet pride. One evening, as they watched the sun set outside the diner, he spoke quietly. "I never expected to meet someone like you," he said. "Someone who sees me for who I am, not what I am. You've changed my life, Maya. I can face anything now because I know I'm not alone." Maya smiled softly, feeling warmth spread through her chest. "You've changed my life too," she said. "You've shown me the importance of patience, trust, and understanding. I've learned to see the person, not the reputation or the exterior." He reached for her hand and held it gently, a silent gesture that carried more meaning than words ever could. In that moment, the noise of the outside world faded, leaving only them, connected through trust, care, and shared experience. Days turned into weeks, and their friendship continued to flourish. Maya found herself looking forward to his visits, the quiet conversations, and the moments of shared laughter. She began to understand his world more, not just the danger and responsibility, but also the loyalty, camaraderie, and sense of purpose that defined it. He, in turn, began to rely on her more openly, sharing small concerns and thoughts that he had never spoken about before. He trusted her judgment, valued her perspective, and appreciated her unwavering support. In her presence, he could lower his guard without fear, knowing that she would see him as a person and not a title or reputation. One evening, as the stars began to appear in the sky, they sat together outside the diner, sipping coffee and watching the quiet town. He spoke softly, almost to himself. "I never thought someone could make me feel this way. Safe, understood, and cared for. You've given me something I didn't know I needed." Maya looked at him, her eyes reflecting sincerity and warmth. "We all need someone who sees us, who understands us, and who stays with us. I'm glad I found you, and I'm glad you found me." He smiled, a genuine, relaxed smile that reached his eyes. For a man accustomed to command and caution, it was rare and beautiful. "I never want to lose this," he said quietly. "Our friendship, our trust. It's too important." "You won't," Maya said firmly. "I'm here for the long run. No matter what comes, we face it together." In the following weeks, life became steadier. The rival group did not return, and the man continued to visit the diner, sharing quiet moments with Maya and occasionally speaking about the road, his duties, and the simple joys he found in life. Their bond had grown into something strong, unshakable, and full of trust. Maya understood that their worlds were very different. His life carried danger, responsibility, and the weight of leadership, while her life was simple, filled with kindness, work, and quiet moments. Yet, these differences became the foundation of their connection. Each brought balance to the other, each providing strength, understanding, and care. One evening, as the sun set behind distant hills and the diner closed for the night, they stood together outside, watching the colors fade into night. He spoke quietly, his voice full of sincerity. "I never expected to find someone who understands me, who trusts me, and who accepts me as I am. You've changed my life in ways I can't explain." Maya smiled, her hand resting gently on his. "And you've changed mine. You've shown me the power of trust, friendship, and kindness. I never imagined meeting someone like you, but I'm grateful I did." They stood there together, two people from very different worlds, connected through trust, understanding, and shared experience. In the quiet of the evening, they realized that life was unpredictable, challenges would come, but the bond they shared was strong enough to face anything. The man mounted his motorcycle one last time that evening before leaving, but he turned to Maya and said softly, "Thank you, for everything, for seeing me, for trusting me, for being here." Maya waved as he rode away, feeling warmth in her heart. "Always," she whispered. She knew that their connection would endure, built on trust, care, and understanding. It was more than friendship. It was a bond that neither time nor circumstance could break. As she closed the diner and looked up at the stars, Maya felt a quiet sense of fulfillment. The mysterious biker, once a stranger in pain, had become a friend, a confidant, and someone who had shown her the power of human connection. And he, in turn, had discovered that even in a world filled with authority, responsibility, and danger, trust, understanding, and compassion could create moments of peace, hope, and belonging. In the end, they both realized that sometimes the simplest acts of kindness and the courage to trust could change lives forever.